Say it then. Who the GOAT? Who the GOAT? Who the GOAT? Who the GOAT? Big as the what? Big as the Super Bowl.
Broadcasting from Radio Row inside the Mandalay Bay Convention Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. You are tuned into Sideline Sports Talk Network's The W Show on 100.1 FM, Kansas City. Brought to you by Stockman Law Firm, The Soul of Santa, the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, Golden Gate Funeral and Cremation Services, Gates Barbecue, Positivity Water, Soiree Steak and Oyster House, The Wright County Tax Preparation, Dillard's Zona Rosa, KC We Spin 360, Derek Thomas Neil Smith III and Long Foundation, Phenomenal Kids Child Care Learning Center, XC Fright Studio Plush, Sierra Fonseca, hairstylist in New York Life.
Back inside the Mandalay Bay Convention Center in Las Vegas, Nevada is where we are. It's last day, y'all.
It is.
The road ends here.
Wrapping it up.
How was everyone's week? You know, Tony, it was your first Radio Row. Start with you.
My first Radio Row, and man, I wasn't expecting all of the thrill, and
Yeah.
I mean, once I got here, I hit the ground running. But I was telling Jazz, I was like, I'm prepared for next year. My energy, everything. So, but it's been a fun time. So thank y'all for allowing me to come and sit and be a part of the crew. So,
Of course.
I mean, come on, Chiefs, bring us back next year so I can come.
Jess?
Yeah, it's been a great week. I mean, it seemed a lot different than the others. I, of course, have been in Tony's position in the first one, and it was a deer in headlights, and now I'm getting more comfortable. But this week was just different. I feel like the energy was different all throughout the week. Like we talked about, usually it's a little bit of a lull at the beginning of the week, but it seemed like it was steady all week long. And I really realized Vegas is cut different. It's definitely different out here.
Yeah, that's why you can only spend a couple of days.
Yeah. Looks like my time is up.
Yeah. And I still hate Vegas. I wish I could say this trip changed it for me, but
I had high hopes.
Yeah, I'm just not a Vegas guy. I don't know the energy here. I don't like, but transition to Radio Row. Loved it this year. Loved it this year because one, we've made friends. Like we have Radio Row friends, like specific Radio Row friends that we might not even talk to throughout the year. But then as soon as we pull up to Radio Row, oh, what's up? Hey, ain't seen you since last year. So it's all like the catch up combos. So I like that part of it because it's like this has the Chiefs also have helped this become like a yearly thing.
Yeah.
So it's really fun. Vegas is definitely different because it gives you more options of things to cover. It especially all the media invites we got. Like it was tough to keep up with all of the different events coming up and things that we ran back and forth through. But I really enjoyed this trip.
Broderick, I guess you come around here. You might as well come on over and talk about your experience too. We got one. Yeah. Come on. Yeah, here we go. We got it right here.
My experience.
Yeah, this what you felt. Radio Row. Lit.
That's all we need.
Drop the mic.
That's all we need.
Drop the mic. I love
Set
it.
him up a chair, get comfortable.
Yeah.
Lit.
One word, lit.
But you guys know what? Like it was. You mentioned it being different, and I think the Vegas part of it.
Yeah.
Everyone, like some people, these people I talked to that never had been to Vegas before.
Mhm.
It's like this their first time, and you couple that with just the Super Bowl within itself. I think that is a huge deal. A lot of people have never been to Allegiant Stadium, which is where the game is going to be played. And so I think that had a lot to do with it as well. People just wanted to show up. It's like, oh, I get the Super Bowl, I get to get to a new stadium, and I get Vegas. Oh,
Yeah.
Triple threat.
Triple
Yeah.
threat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could tell the energy even like yesterday when we were walking through, or it might have been the day before. Starting to bleed together now, but and fans are already chanting like in the casinos and walking into the fan experience and stuff. It's just everybody's excited. You can tell everybody's having a good time, and what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah, because we didn't get all the chanting and stuff other places last year in Phoenix until we got to the convention center where the NFL experience was. But here it is like every casino you go, it's going to be a random chant breakout.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
The energy is definitely hype for sure.
Mhm.
Now, do you all think there's going to be more Chiefs fans in general? I guess there's three types of fans. There's going to be in general, like I'm going to wear my team jersey. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I'm going. Or are there going to be more Chiefs fans, or are there going to be more San Francisco 49ers fans?
Like at the game or
At
just
the game.
here, period?
At the game.
Oh.
I think at the game is going to be a lot more 49ers fans. One, it being so close. But then two, I think we're going to see a healthy mix of like all those other jerseys. We saw it last year. Philadelphia traveled very well. I'm not sure the dynamic behind that. But I think we see a greater presence of Chiefs fans than we saw last year. Because I think last year was people wanted to go to Phoenix, but Phoenix wasn't that alluring. Now that the Chiefs are back in the Super Bowl, I think people are like, hey, we don't know if we're going to get this again, or we might get it again in New Orleans. So I'm just going to start going now. So, but I think we see a healthy amount of 49ers fans. You probably gonna get tired of the Bang Bang Niner gang tomorrow.
And it's even tougher since they're both red. Like we're not truly gonna be able to tell until the streaming starts. So I don't know. I feel like I've known a lot of Kansas City people that are making the trip. So I'm going to lean more towards Kansas City. I think a lot of people might not necessarily go to the game, but I feel like a lot of people are just here for the atmosphere and around it.
Here for the vibes.
Yeah, definitely here for the vibes.
All right, we've got a lot to talk about on today's show. We'll dive into the game. We'll give you some more sports headlines that happen throughout the week. Let's get to today's headlines.
And now, here are the biggest sports headlines from this week. We bring them to you every Saturday morning on The W with Walls and the Crew on 100.1 FM and Facebook Live.
Of course, we got to talk about our experiences on Radio Row. Now we can transition to the real deal, Sunday. The game, what we've all been waiting for, the build-up. What are you guys thinking? I mean, we got a lot of Chiefs. You can't bet against Patrick Mahomes was most of our takes that we heard. What are you guys' hot takes?
Hot takes?
Hot takes.
And on the game? I don't really have a hot take. We were all talking last night before we went out, just kind of having that last brush up conversation of what we think is going to happen. I think it's going to be a run heavy game. I think just as any game, both teams need to take care of the ball, but this game I think is going to be more emphasis on that because it might end up being a close scoring game. The Chiefs haven't done a good job of putting up a lot of points, but they've been doing a good enough job to score enough points. I think this game is going to be predicated on Brock Purdy. I think Spags is going to make San Francisco try to pass. I don't know if that's loading the box or just blitzing one extra just to kind of load the box. But I think they're going to try to force Brock Purdy to pass. But I think both teams are going to lean on the run and then play actions and screens to running backs. Both teams are going to need to tackle. But I think the Chiefs come out on top, especially if it's a close game, because playoff Pat knows how to activate.
I agree. I don't know. I feel really, really, really confident going into this game. Probably of the 3 Super Bowls that we've been in, this is the one that I feel the most confident in. Mainly because we talked about it earlier this week, the Chiefs have really embraced that villain role. And I feel like when people start coming for the Chiefs, that's when they start playing a lot better. We've seen that last year with the whole this is Burrowhead situation, right? Yeah. And the Chiefs turned up after that. So I feel like we're in that same boat again. And playoff Pat, he's driving a boat. Yeah, he's driving a boat right now. And I think we're going to see another victory. I feel like it's going to be close in the beginning, but I feel like the Chiefs are going to take off second half.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to talk just offense, defense, then the special teams than look at the whole game. So offensively, I feel like from the Chiefs standpoint, they're rolling. And going into the playoffs, the questions were, and this is before the wild card game, the questions were, all right, well, you haven't had a lot of success offensively with the wide receiver group. Patrick Mahomes hasn't been himself. Travis Kelce hasn't been himself. Is he injured? How is the knee? The running back game, you had Isaiah Pacheco coming into the season from the Super Bowl last year with having shoulder surgery, and then he gets the shoulder hurt again. Where Andy Reid's like, "Oh, he has to get some stuff cleaned up." I'm like, "Stuff cleaned up? What do you mean? Like, is he good or is he not?"
Right.
So we really didn't know how Isaiah Pacheco's health was, and then you get Jerick McKinnon, who was an instrumental part of last year's run, and then at the beginning of the season because he keeps that room together. However, Clyde Edwards-Helaire stepped up huge, and you really didn't know about him at the beginning of the season because was it going to be his last year? Chiefs fans were like, Clyde has to go. He was a first-round pick. All that stuff offensively about this team, and then there was some trouble in the red zone. Like Chiefs get down within 20 yards of scoring, and they can't score. They have to kick a field goal. And all those questions were answered when they go up and the wild card game in Kansas City against Miami, they made Tyreek Hill not look like Tyreek Hill. They made Tua Tagovailoa look like not a good quarterback, right?
Like a rookie.
Yeah, and then you get them going on the road. It's like, all right, can they go in and beat Josh Allen in Buffalo? This is the game that Buffalo fans all want. It's like, all right, let's get the Chiefs Kingdom up here. Let's slay the dragon. They go in there and beat Buffalo. Then it's like, oh, Lamar Jackson. Can we go up there and beat them in Baltimore? Baltimore pulled out all the stops. They had Ray Lewis. They had T-Pain performing at halftime. They had all these shiny things to get the crowd wild and riled up. And then Chiefs go up there and beat them. And here we are in the Super Bowl. And it's like, all right, offensively, I feel like they're good. The questions about MVS. Can he catch the football? Well, he helped win 2 games.
Correct.
And then you get from the defensive standpoint, the defenses play very well. Coordinator Steve Spagnuolo's had these guys rolling. This has been the best defense that I've ever seen the Chiefs have, by far. And we've always said, I know Q and I talked about it last year, if this Chiefs defense could have a middle of the road, let's just say there's 32 teams in the league, let's just say 15. They have a ranked 15th defense. They should be fine. And now they're ranked, 1 or 2? So they've won a lot of games, and I feel like offensively and defensively, this team is pretty good.
Definitely. And even yesterday talking, we had a lot of guests come through, and I remember one of them had mentioned how calm Pat is under pressure. And I feel like that has been the aura around the entire week this week. Talking to the players at the podium, like even we had joked about with other reporters, like we don't have anything to ask them anymore. They've already been here. It seems just monotonous at this point. Like, and you could kind of tell, like they're comfortable. They've been here before. They don't seem rattled or anything like that. And so I think that I have a lot of confidence going into this game, just knowing that they've been here before. They don't seem bothered. It seems like a regular work week for them. Like, and so I don't expect them to do anything out of the ordinary. And obviously lately it's been coming out on top no matter what. So,
and the point you made about Pat being calm, I mean, we saw the difference between Patrick and Lamar Jackson. Lamar not necessarily being as, I won't say calm, but he wasn't himself. And that's what the Chiefs have done a good job really over the past couple of seasons, is making sure the other team on offense is not themselves. They go away from the things that they do well. Lamar Jackson not running the ball when it was his time to run the ball versus like trying to show everybody he can beat anybody with his arm versus just going and winning the game. Like I think they make it too hard on themselves, but part of that goes to the Chiefs game plan, game in and game out. And that's where they stand out. The rest of the team stays as calm as Patrick. And that's where it starts, because once you saw Lamar starting to get frustrated and fist balled up walking to the sideline, it was like that aggression it bled over into the rest of the team, and the Chiefs don't have that. Like when the guys were dropping balls throughout the season, I mean, Pat, you would see his frustration, but the next week he wouldn't go away from them. And that's what you need. You need to have not only a leader that trusts the rest of the team, but the team that trusts the leader and follows his lead as far as like temperament throughout the game. And we see it's elite.
And it's funny you say that about the trust and the offensive weapons. You had Kadarius Toney, you had MVS, you had Sky Moore, it was a number of guys that could not catch the ball. And you saw the frustration from Travis Kelce early in the season. And I think the number one X factor that kind of eliminates the pointing fingers, I think, is Andy Reid. And I heard someone ask Andy or ask General Manager Brett Veach, like, why is Andy so always calm and collected? And he said, well, anytime after a loss, Andy's always looking forward, never backward. And I feel like it carries over. Like your head honcho is always going to filter down through all of the players, from the first man on the roster, which is Patrick Mahomes, all the way down to the 53rd man on the roster. So, I mean, this team, they're different, and they've been here before. And if you just look at the dynamic of this 49ers team and the quarterback Brock Purdy, they're going to try to do the same things that they did with Lamar Jackson, like you said, make Brock become an elite quarterback. Do I feel like he's an elite quarterback? No. Some people wouldn't agree, but I feel like Brock Purdy hasn't gotten the experience that Pat has.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the experience, but this game is going to be his experience builder. This is going to be a building block for his career. Like last year, the injuries and everything that the 49ers went through, and him being the third string quarterback that's finally getting the start.
Right.
And now he's holding on to the starting job. Like, this is going to be his time to create his own career. And if he tries to step outside of himself and tries to compete 1v1 versus Mahomes, we've seen how that's ended over 5 seasons. Like, we've only really seen Tom Brady and Joe Burrow beat Patrick when it matters. And Brock Purdy is going to want to become part of history, but if he doesn't let the game come to him, if he doesn't use his weapons around him, if he tries to be Superman and, tries to win the MVP and do everything, I think he ends up making some detrimental mistakes.
It's weird though too, because you get this team that and we didn't even talk about the fact they got off the airplane playing get back.
Oh, that's the interesting thing about this team. The nucleus of the team is the same. Outside of the quarterback, you have a better running back. You have, I'm not going to say a better quarterback. You have a different quarterback, a better running back. And then you have some pieces that you've added. Ayuk, a young player that can turn a quick pass into a 75-yard run. Christian McCaffrey's the same way. Debo's the same way. So, again, if he can lean on the talent around him and just allow them to do what they do, and then when his moment is there, he has to make it happen. If he can't make it happen, if he's trying to force passes, if he's trying to do too much. And again, I think that's why the Chiefs win, because I think Spags throws a lot at him that Spags may have used back in the day that he hasn't shown in a very long time. And again, I think there's going to be a lot of defensive combinations that they do that they may have done throughout the year, but didn't really lean on throughout the year. And I think it's gonna confuse Brock, especially live in the game. So
and I go back and look at just what the teams that the 49ers lost to this season. I mean, they lost to the Browns 19-17. They lost to the Vikings, the Bengals. I mean, there's a number of teams that this team has lost to.
They got blown out by Baltimore in prime time.
33-19. Yep. They lost to, I think Baltimore was the last one. But yeah, the teams that were the best teams in the league, you think about Baltimore Ravens. You think about Buffalo Bills won, 7 straight until they play the Chiefs again. I mean, that was one of the hottest teams going into the playoffs, along with Baltimore. So I feel like this Chiefs team has played the best competition already, and they beat
No,
them.
they definitely have. And it a lot of times you can't even look back on the season because again, the playoffs is a whole new season, and you could. Baltimore has shown and Buffalo has shown that you can be rolling all you want going into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But if you aren't that, I mean, not necessarily elite, because I don't want to call them not elite teams, but you have to be able to take that elite to another level. And especially when you play a guy like Patrick Mahomes that has been there before,
Mm-hmm.
that knows how to take that lump, but can also stay methodical throughout the game and not necessarily, lose his top. I mean, that's tough to play against. And the 49ers do not need to have a flawless game, but they need to have a flawless game enough that they take Patrick out of the game. And I don't know if anybody can do that after, that Tampa Bay Super Bowl, because I think the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes have covered up those mistakes from the past. So
I want to ask y'all a question. And I want to remove Patrick Mahomes from the equation. I want to remove Patrick Mahomes from the equation. And the question is, what person would the Chiefs, I guess, meant the most for the Chiefs making it to the Super Bowl? So the Chiefs wouldn't have made it to the Super Bowl without this person. I'll start with you, Tony.
And we're taking away Patrick.
We're taking away Patrick.
So
what player? It could be a player, it could be a coach, it could be anybody.
Can I just say the entire defense?
Okay. What player on the defense?
I just said the entire.
yeah,
All of them. No.
All
Shoot. Man. Just one player?
One. You can say the whole defense. I'll give you that.
Okay, yeah.
The whole
I say the whole defense. I feel like the defense honestly has has carried the Chiefs this season up until
Yeah.
the playoffs. To your point, the offense kind of like started to gel a little bit. We're starting to see, Rashee Rice or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'll say the defense, we definitely got to give them their credit for sure.
I would say Rashee Rice. I think that with the struggle in the beginning of the season, I think he was the spark that they needed.
Yeah.
I think he wasn't necessarily the bar none standout, like ride or die, but it was just that little like fire to light something. And I think that's when the chemistry started clicking and you saw them having fun again. You see like little things start to fall in place and then you see him just emerge and not even expecting obviously you expect a lot of any guy, but not expecting much of him going into it. Seeing him evolve throughout the season. And I think that just gave everybody else on that offense motivation to go hard. And I think it got everybody else excited. It got the fans excited because you have a guy that you didn't expect. And so I think that really was the spark that they needed. And I don't know if they could have turned that corner without him.
Yeah, I think, and I think I was going to say Rashee Rice because it gave Patrick another target, that he could rely on. But if I transition away from that, I think it's Isaiah Pacheco. I think he adds a certain fire and a certain spunk to the offense that the defense has needed for a very long time. Over the last couple of seasons, I said a couple of times that the defense needed a dog. They needed somebody that was nasty. And turns out they really didn't need that. They just needed a team that really understood the scheme. And Justin Reed even said it. He said it took a while for the team last season the defense to get on the same page. And then when they did, it clicked on all cylinders. So again, we saw it late in the season last year, bleeding into this year. But I think for this season alone, I think Pacheco really adds that like burst. Last year, he was so young. It was like, okay, we'll kind of do running back by committee. And then, I mean, just like Brock Purdy, stepped up over the three quarterbacks that San Francisco had last year. He stepped up and then also became like consistent in production. He took care of the ball. He always got positive yards. And then it's the little things. It's breaking tackles here and there. It's okay. Now the pile is on you. You be the first to push everybody up off of you.
Yeah.
Bounce back, get back in the huddle. Like it takes those few little things. That's like, okay, he's still in it.
Yeah.
I need to get there too. And some people aren't like the first snap.
Yeah.
You might not even be into it, and that's what people have to. A lot of the players have to be careful of this game. You have to be in it from the jump, and Pacheco is that guy. I think Pacheco is the rah-rah guy that you would expect your quarterback to be, and he does a good job of it.
I have an honorable mention.
What's that?
Willie Gay.
Mm,
When
yeah.
he said, pass that the message to play swag serve up to whoever. After that, Chiefs turned up. So honorable
Yeah.
mention.
Okay.
Willie Gay.
I like that. I like the Willie Gay, the defense, Rashee Rice, and Hugo went with Rashee Rice as well.
Pacheco.
Pacheco. Yeah. I'm gonna go. Can I give two? Is that okay?
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with first with L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah.
I think you even though L'Jarius was not named as All Pro, which he should have been, he wasn't named as a Pro Bowler, which he should have been. Everyone felt like he was snubbed from both of those. He still held all of the top receivers one-on-one. He held them to 0 touchdowns, all but one. This was in the playoffs. And he held everyone to under 100 yards in receiving. So I think he was the key factor on that defense. Now, don't get me wrong, the defense was good, but without L'Jarius Sneed, I feel like because we've seen wide receivers torch this Chiefs team.
Yeah,
we've seen. Think about going up against Odell Beckham Jr. Zay Flowers, the number of guys that he has to affect, Keenan Allen throughout the season. It just goes to show you the talent that they have on the defense and the leadership that they have. And L'Jarius did it without. Now, don't get me wrong, he'll go and say stuff after the game or whatever. But I mean, Jamar Chase, he didn't get off.
Yeah.
They go and play the Raiders, shuts down everybody. So, and then played Minnesota, Justin Jefferson. He didn't get off. He got injured because of the physicality from the defense. So I would say L'Jarius Sneed, and then looking at offense, I think Travis Kelce. Trav didn't have the year that he normally would have. However, he was still and sometimes people get upset when people say, "Oh, well, he was a decoy." He's a heck of a decoy because he commands the attention of a defense. Sometimes getting talked about, which allowed everyone else to get open. But I still think Travis Kelce, you have to know where he is on the field. He only had 5 touchdowns this past season, but 2019 he only had 5 touchdowns, and they went on to win the Super Bowl that year. And also people would say, "Oh, well, Travis didn't. He just wasn't there. Some games he disappeared." Well, he still had 900, and he was 16 yards away from his eighth consecutive 1,000-yard season for an off year.
Yeah.
So I would say Travis Kelce and L'Jarius Sneed.
And I like those two because L'Jarius is definitely one that held his own. 3 years ago, I don't think we saw this from him. I don't think we foresaw the leap that he's taken over, really the last 2 seasons. And then I would partly throw Trent McDuffie in there because they did a good job on both ends. And then Trent McDuffie was it first team or second team?
First team.
Yeah, just
second season too.
Yeah, and getting that stamp. But then seeing how comfortable they are, the defense really never looks rattled. The other team might score, they might have some momentum coming in, but then they'll get a stop, whether it's a turnover, whether it's a quick 3 and out, just to switch the field position. And that's what the Chiefs have done well this year as well, is playing the field position. And when you can play that field position game as well as they do, it's really tough to beat teams like that. Because if Pat's getting the ball on their 40 and then pushing past the 50-yard line, he just needs 20 yards to kick a field goal. And you don't want the Chiefs to not score touchdowns, but you also don't want them to kick field goals, because if they kick 2, then that's almost like a touchdown, and then that keeps Platt that much closer. And if you can't go up on him 14, 14 to 17 points, you might as well call it a wrap.
I guess we'll see you on Sunday. Now, another player that Chiefs Kingdom truly does miss. We remembered Derek Thomas, who died 24 years ago this week. It's been quite a bit of play on the numbers with 58, Super Bowl 58. What are you guys' thoughts or memories of that era?
I mean, it just all comes together. I remember that era because, again, that's when the Chiefs had a very dominant defense. You had Derek Thomas, you had Neil Smith, and what was their nickname, Steve? What was the pass rushing nickname? I always forget the Sack Brothers or something like.
I don't remember. But I mean, I don't. I can't remember.
I don't remember what. I'm gonna have to look. I'm gonna have to look it up because it's a poster that I'm seeing in my head, and I can't think of what it was called. But that's when the defense again was a top tier defense, and losing Derek Thomas, you really kind of lost that appeal of that. So after losing Derek Thomas, what was it? Either Neil Smith got traded away or free agency, going to Denver, and then him winning a Super Bowl.
Man.
Like you really didn't see the defense get back to the same after that. And I mean that was like a couple of years where the Chiefs didn't really recover from that huge loss because of what DT meant to not only the team but to the community. The work that he did with 3rd and Long, a lot of the different things that he meant to people off the field. Losing him was really tough on the Kingdom. And then I mean it took getting that Dick Vermeil era, getting Priest Holmes for the team to kind of be revived, but losing Derek Thomas was like a huge hole in the organization, and it had shown over a couple of seasons.
Yeah, and you asked about a memory of Derek Thomas. I can remember I think it was a Monday night game, and they were playing the Raiders, which the Raiders is that team that he just despises. It's just it was the Raiders, then Broncos. Those were just the two teams. In that rivalry between the Chiefs and the Raiders. I just remember Derek Thomas wearing the gray, like he would roll his jersey up under his pads and have that gray T-shirt, and it just be sweating. And I'm like, man, why does he wear this gray T-shirt? Of all the colors, he wears this gray T-shirt, and I can just remember DT wearing the gray T-shirt all the time. Just like, why is it gray?
Yeah.
But yeah, the work that Miss Betty Brown does, the president of the 3rd and Long Foundation, still keeping the foundation going.
Yes.
And also Uncle Neil Smith, he's definitely taking the reins of the Derek Thomas Neil Smith 3rd and Long Foundation.
Yeah, and you see the impact in it because Neil could have gone on 1-2 Super Bowls, never moved back to Kansas City, and just left it in the dust. But he's here. Well, in Kansas City. Yeah, he's here. And when I say here, I mean with us in Kansas City. Right. He's here. But not only is he here, he has a presence. Right. He not only does interviews with the different stations, he comes to the small stations. He powwows with a lot of different people, whether it's having cigars with different people. Like Neil Smith didn't have to be here, but he's here.
Yeah.
And he's also, like you said, taking the reins of 3rd and Long. And that just shows you the impact of like Derek Thomas. And it shows you how his legacy really lives on through other people. Because after he passed, there could have been no more 3rd and Long. Right. Miss Betty could have went and done something else.
Yeah.
And she didn't. Neil Smith could have raised a family somewhere else. He didn't. Everyone stayed here. And I think those two things, along with many others, they really show the impact that he had.
I know we were a little disappointed we didn't get to make it out that way to this one, but the Kobe statue is now up at Crypto. Steve, your thoughts on this one?
Huge. I think you think about the Kobe Bryant and Mamba mentality, what it meant to the city of LA, what it meant to every athlete that looked up to Kobe. Not only that, just his peers as well. I think it's huge. And and the fact that they put a statue so early, like, because sometimes you get guys that are 20 years removed. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, what did he do? Okay, let's just throw up the statue for him.
Let's honor him.
Yeah, and so I think this is and it's supposed to be, this is one of 3 that they're putting up outside of Crypto Arena. I still call it Staples. Like,
Yeah, it's still
it's still Staples for me.
never change. Twitter will never be X.
Yeah,
right?
Staples will
Exactly.
never be crypto. Sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's a huge thing, especially for the city, because people. It was what 2 years? 2 years? No, wait,
No.
2019.
It was 5 because it was
It was during.
it was when we were going to Miami. We
Yeah,
were
it was-
literally
yeah.
getting on the plane to go to Miami.
2020.
So
and
February
got the
2020.
news. Yes.
Wow. Yeah, it doesn't even seem that long.
Doesn't-
Mm-mm.
Wow.
Do you guys remember? Well, you guys just said your exact
No,
moments.
we were driving to the airport. My mom was driving me to the airport, and I'm on my phone,
Mhm,
just kind of like, just looking around.
mhm.
And my mom wasn't a drive while she's on the phone, but this day she was on the phone, and she looked over to me and she was like, "So Kobe Bryant died?" And I'm like, "Okay, what
Yeah.
kind of like Facebook hoax
Yeah.
are you
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
reading or whatever?" And she's like, "No, like they're showing," and I mean they showed everything on Facebook, so it got everywhere fast.
Mhm.
And yeah, like Steve said, it doesn't feel like that long ago,
Mhm.
but that's one of those things where you remember where you were when you heard it.
Yep. And my exact moment, I was with my college buddies in Topeka, and we were all at the Applebee's in Topeka. There's not much to do, but that's having like dollar drinks, just hanging out, appetizers. And somebody had read it on their phone, kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And they were like, wait, like, did Kobe die? Whatever. And then all of the TVs in Applebee's started showing the news channel of like
Yeah.
the live coverage of it. And I just remember this, like, I don't think I've ever quite had the like eerie feeling that I did that day, but you could hear a pin drop in the Applebee's at that
Mhm.
moment. Like the cooks had came out from the
That's crazy.
kitchen. Everybody was just locked in, like eyes glued to the screens of like the live coverage of the scene. And I just remember everybody just kind of like looking at each other, and I got chills. Like I was just like,
I get chills right now.
Yeah.
thinking about it, like for real.
yeah, like
That's just the AC on.
but wild moment, like you said, it's definitely one of those moments. And to have that type of impact as an athlete, like it's one of those things, of course everybody remembers like where they were on 9/11 and stuff like that, but as an athlete, to think that your career was that impactful and that you could make the world stop in that moment when something happened, I mean, that's still, even years later now, it's like shows how much
Mhm.
what he did and how much of his impact it is. It's crazy.
I guess to your point, my mom called me.
Yeah.
I was driving. And I was like, girl, what are you reading? Like, why are you, he's fine.
I thought it was a hoax.
Yeah. So, I remember that day, and it was actually somebody that I hadn't talked to in years. And she was a huge Kobe fan when we were in high school, like to the point too. She would argue people down. And I mean, she's all of what, 5'3". But
What's wrong with 5'3", Tony?
No, you're good. You're good. But I mean, I called her up, and we kind of like rekindled a friendship
Wow.
after that. So yeah, I definitely remember that, and just being stuck to my phone the entire day. Because then they were talking about, was it all of his starters, or they were trying to figure that
Mhm.
out. So yeah.
Steve?
Yeah, I thought it was fake news. Like I was going. Y'all know me. I'm always late getting to the airport. So I think I was driving to pick up something at the plaza before I got to the airport, and I'm just not supposed to be on my phone. But something told me to like scroll. Just
Yeah.
look, Kobe, what? And I'm driving, and I look. I'm like, no, this can't be true. So I put my phone down, and I get to the airport, and I look again. I'm like, nah. Because I'm like one of the
Yeah.
biggest Kobe fan, like
Yeah.
seriously. So, and it was just the whole flight there. It just gave you that, like you said, the eerie
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, this can't be, like it's fake,
Right.
fake news.
Right.
Mhm.
And I was just waiting on somebody to say, no, it wasn't Kobe. He's not. It was somebody else. And then once they said helicopter, I'm like, oh,
Yep.
yeah, just because that was Kobe's mode of transportation.
Mhm.
And so it's just
Yeah.
crazy.
And I was on the opposite end of that because I was a Kobe hater, so to speak, and part of that was like my fandom in Shaq.
Mhm.
And I had picked sides on that. But on top of that, Kobe was a talent that you couldn't deny. And you look at how the mama mentality still lives on.
Mhm.
Again, like you say, like, you know, Miss Betty Brown carrying on that. His wife does a good job of carrying on mama mentality, whether it's her decision or not. She knows that she has to carry that torch, and I don't think that she does it reluctantly. But I think the pain is still there for her. So we don't necessarily see all these drops every year of new shoes or, you know, whatever it is. But this statue, I think for her is it. You would hope that it gives some kind of like finality in the whole process of grief that she's going through over these past 5 years,
Yeah.
because it can't be easier.
No.
And like it can't be easier, one, to lose a spouse and a daughter,
Yeah.
and to have to keep dealing with business that big. I don't know how she does that within grief.
It's a constant reminder.
Constant reminder.
Constant. And like you said, I couldn't imagine. I mean, he still has brands, he still has drops and stuff like that, and still having to like talk to the manager about like, how are we going to get this orchestrated? I couldn't imagine, like you said, going through that and grief at the same time, because that's especially everybody grieves differently, but you know, at moments you just want to turn it off, and I don't know how you would turn off something of that magnitude. Crazy.
And a lot of people had like issue with the statue, and what it looked like, you know, because Kobe, Vanessa Bryant in her speech said that Kobe picked out the statue, and it was with his finger holding up, like it's just Kobe. If you know Kobe, that's what he did. And she said, let me go to it. She said, and I quote, "All of our daughters that were tattooed on Kobe's name, on Kobe's arm." She also said to the fans here in our latest special day, Kobe was so proud to be represented. She said also, and for the record, Kobe picked the pose you're about to see. So if anyone has issues with it, tough.
Sugar honey
It
iced
is
tea.
what it is.
And that's what I'm saying, like the part of grief to deal with.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like
People complaining.
you're memorializing an NBA legend and her husband, but then you have to say what you think about the pose on the statue. Like what? Like
Just
why
so
is
it look- yeah, let
why
it look
is
nice.
that part of like we were supposed to like call and consult
Right,
you
right.
random at such and such and such? Like
Right.
no, come on now.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So
On that note, we're going to take a quick break. Keep it locked in. This is W Show. We'll be right back.
You're tuned in to the W with Walls and the Crew, where winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. On 100.1 FM and Facebook Live.
Go ahead, say it then. Who the GOAT? Who the GOAT? Who the GOAT? Who the GOAT? Big as the what? Hey. Big as the Super Bowl.
Broadcasting from Radio Row inside the Mandalay Bay Convention Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. You are tuned into Sideline Sports Talk Networks, the W Show on 100.1 FM, Kansas City. Brought to you by Stockman Law Firm, the Soul of Santa, the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, Golden Gate Funeral and Cremation Services, Gates Barbecue, Positivity Water, Soiree Steak and Oyster House, the Wright Cali Tax Preparation, Dillard's Zona Rosa, KC We Spin 360, Derek Thomas Neil Smith III and Long Foundation, Phenomenal Kids Child Care Learning Center, XC Fright, Studio Plush, Sierra Fonseca, Hairstylist in New York Life.
Live here from Mandalay Bay Convention Center. We are on our last day. And they had some exciting things happen over at the 49ers resort, though. A 6 a.m. false fire alarm went off at 49ers Hotel in Las Vegas. Christian McCaffrey and Nick Bosa were not happy after the early fire alarm and claimed that how could it have been accidental? You guys' thoughts on this one?
you know that's
What Vanessa Bryant say? Tough.
All
That's,
right. We see Steve has the tough love coming. Okay. Q,
Yeah.
your thoughts on this one?
I mean, Andy Reid is a mysterious character, and his reach is far and wide, and whatever agents that he sent, agents of chaos that he sent.
Here we go.
Now, surely it wasn't us.
Here we go.
The fake,
Here we
the fake
go.
Andy Reid? Was it the fake
I-
Andy Reid?
Yeah.
I could see the fake Andy Reid making this type
Listen,
of
he-
play call.
That may have been.
Oh my gosh.
It may have been the fake Andy Reid that paid an
crazy.
agent of chaos to go there and set that fire alarm off. But it went off at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I
Is that
wonder-
really like early?
I was about to say, what's the normal wake up call time?
because technically, the Chiefs should be the one lagging when it comes to the different time zone. San
True.
Francisco,
Yeah.
all right, they wake up at 6 o'clock all the time.
No, definitely. And that's what I'm wondering. Like, if it's 6 o'clock, what was their call time? But on the flip side, this is Super Bowl week. They're probably doing media from 8, 9, because I think we got there at like 9 a.m. when it had just started. So a lot throughout the week. They're 9 a.m. to probably 11 or noon up to lunch. They're doing media. They're probably doing a little more media somewhere in between there, and then having practice. So I mean, you might have late nights where, as a team, you're probably going over game plan, looking at film, looking at different things, and that hour or two probably could throw you off. I mean, it could mean a matter of 5 hours of sleep versus 6.
Yeah.
And we know how detrimental that 1 hour could be.
Sure.
So
Well, no one was hurt.
Yeah,
be
no.
thankful.
And,
Be
yeah,
thankful.
and I've heard different stories about teams being awakened, like in not Super Bowl wise, but just being awakened at team hotels. Like I've heard them being at the visiting team being at Crown Center,
Mhm.
and 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, the fire alarm goes off, so the whole team has to clear out and go
oh,
downstairs.
so this is not a new
Yeah.
Chiefs tactic.
Well, I mean, it's all around the league. It's all around the league.
I mean,
It's all and wait, and hold on. Let's back up for a second. What day did this take place?
This took
It took place on Thursday.
Yes.
It's Saturday. The game is 3 days away. It
So
ain't
you
like
got time to rest.
it ain't like it's tonight.
Well, especially when you're leading up to big games, you want your rest 2 and 3 days prior. No, that's
This side of the table is saying we do not care.
no, yeah, because that's
Yeah,
crap.
yeah.
No, because because Steve and I went through this in high school, and especially my senior year in high school, we had coaches that told us like, "Hey, you're playing on Friday, Wednesday. Make sure you start getting some good sleep."
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, you want that good sleep leading into that because, again, they spent all week. But again, if an hour throws you off, like, were you really ready to play this game?
Right.
I mean, it is the city that never sleeps. So, I mean, but you never know. There's a lot of, like you said, a lot of media stuff going on. They might have needed to do the test run. That was the only time that they could do the test run on the hotel
fire
alarms.
alarm?
Yeah. Just to be sure that everything's working accordingly ahead of
No.
Take,
this.
It
that
is
up
what
with
it
the
is.
general
No.
manager.
That's some sneaky hunt activity. It sounds.
Oh my
like.
goodness.
Hot take for sure. Of course, we saw the excitement around the NFL honors this week. Also, got to see some of the players that were involved in it too. Lamar Jackson says he doesn't see himself as the MVP. He sees himself as the 5th quarterback taken in his draft class.
Here we go. Lamar Jackson. And I said this yesterday, and Pac-Man Jones did not agree. I have Lamar Jackson as the number 2 quarterback in the league. And I really feel like, and we can look at, you're only as good as your last game.
Mhm.
And so he didn't have a good showing against Kansas City AFC Championship game. However, if he would have continued to use his legs, he would have.
It's a different game.
It's a different game. Yeah. And I'm saying that to say, Lamar Jackson, embrace your MVP, your 2-time winner, but he hasn't gotten to. I think his answer would have been different had he made it to Super Bowl.
Well, and yeah, I think the answer is different, but yes, because that's what you want from your quarterback. You don't want your quarterback to be satisfied with anything less than a Super Bowl ring. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Yeah.
that if I'm a fan of a team and my quarterback is like, "Oh, we lost the playoffs, but I got MVP."
Yeah.
Like, how does that sound? So yeah, he you know, we saw Patrick the postseason. I mean, the preseason after he lost, sitting on a recliner chair with his notebook, and his wife saying, "Oh, well, this is all he does." Like, yeah, like you want your quarterback to be focused on that win. And yes, I don't like the answer, but I get it.
Jinx.
Patrick Mahomes' best GOAT comparison isn't Tom Brady, it's Michael Jordan.
I like that.
Jinx again.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I like that MJ comparison. Let's talk about that for a second, because I get it. And Broderick's not gonna like what I'm getting ready to say. You get Tom Brady, who is, I mean, greatest quarterback of all time.
Mhm.
However, that door is kind of it's dwindling.
It's closed.
It's closed. But
It's closed.
For the greatest quarterback. So
It's closed.
really?
It's closed.
Oh,
They threw away the key.
okay. So what we're saying is, so can we keep that same energy when we talk basketball? And we ain't got to go there, but can we keep that same energy when we talk basketball when we say, hey, the door's closed, like nobody else can even come close? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying Tom Brady's not the GOAT anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, we can continue this conversation. Forget everything else I just said. Forget everything else I just said. So it's quickly like becoming, so there was Tom Brady up here. Here was all the other quarterbacks.
Mhm.
Pat is like with all the quarterbacks, but if he wins this Super Bowl, he's inching closer.
It's closed. There's no if
Oh.
factor in it. If they lose this, Pat's not going nowhere. So I think it's closed.
It's
Okay.
closed. That's the word of the
Yes.
day.
All right.
Lit and closed.
Yeah,
Word of the day.
I don't know. I don't think I know the argument that you make for Tom Brady other than Patrick couldn't beat him.
I could see that.
Yeah. And I say that because I think, and this is all preferential, because I think Patrick is a better leader than Tom, because Tom's teammates feared him.
Mhm.
And
Did they though?
I think they feared letting him down. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
I don't think these players fear letting down Patrick, because I think they know they'll get another opportunity. But I think Tom Brady led with fear, and you don't want to lead a team like that. And I liken that to Kobe. And Jordan's kind of the same way.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate you throwing Kobe in there. Thank you.
but he talked about
Sun's
Mike.
out today. But let's keep it there. Let's keep it there.
But
we're doing good.
He compared to Michael Jordan. Open that back up.
We're
'cause
doing good.
That said,
Keep it there.
that said Michael Jordan. That said Michael Jordan. That didn't say Kobe.
Now, one last thing to wrap us up. All week long, of course, we've talked about the Usher talk. We've had to ask everybody what their number one is. We've gotten little snippets. I want to get ours. I don't think we've talked about
Ooh.
ours. I want to start with the DJ first, and you do have to give me a bar off of it.
Oh,
It doesn't have to be a
man.
bar off your favorite one, but everybody's got to give a bar. Let's wrap this thing up for Radio Row.
So what's the first song?
Your first song, like your favorite song of all time, and then give me a Usher bar. It doesn't have to be from that song.
My
but-
favorite Usher song of all time is
Mhm.
"Think of You,"
Okay.
and I think it was his first album. So yeah, that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hear a bar. Let's
A
hear
bar?
Usher bar.
what did your guy do? That was hilarious.
Mine, I think, would have to be Superstar, the one that we've used all week for the challenge. I'm not gonna try to hit the high
Hit
note
it,
at
hit
the
it, try
beginning.
it.
Oh yeah, you got to do it. No,
Please try it.
You had everybody
Please
else
try it.
doing it. Yes.
No, yep.
Yes.
You can't do
No.
that.
Yes.
You can't do
Yes.
that.
Yep.
Y'all heard? Did you hear me when I woke up this morning? Did
It
you
does-
guys hear me? How
that
my
doesn't
voice
matter.
is sounding? It's too early. I gotta warm up.
You've done a whole show. You have vocal
Yeah.
warm up
Yeah.
already.
Can I hit the?
Yeah, there you go.
Tony.
Okay, so for me, you guys know I model as well. So he has that song Bad Girl.
Bad girl.
And he
Yeah.
go,
Okay.
y'all know about a doom doom
Yeah.
supermodel.
Hey.
Oh, that was kind of fire.
Yeah.
You gotta dab me up on that one. That was kind of fire.
Usher, if you need me, I'm available. I know Alicia's gonna be there, but just in case she doesn't make it, I'm here.
Steven.
I go with Nice and Slow.
Ooh,
Okay.
slow
Yeah,
jams.
yeah.
He said windows down, slow
Yeah.
jams at night. Okay, what's up?
You know, the question's always, what was Usher doing at 7 o'clock?
On the dot.
Yeah.
Midnight
Where
drop
was-
top,
No.
cruising the streets.
Steve, where was he at?
Let's
And
hear it. Let's hear your best bar.
It's 7 o'clock on the dot. I'm in my drop top, cruising the streets.
No, I break down the rap. But he starts rapping in that song.
Yeah.
USHERRYMOND.
No,
Let me tell you what you want to do with me.
There we go.
It's giving Steve cruises at night with the windows down and hits
Better believe it.
Definitely.
All right, we appreciate everyone who joined in and hung out with us all throughout the week. Thank you to all of our guests that came over to the table and hung out with us as well. Even the impromptu guests. A lot of people came over and was like, hey, I know y'all. I'll come hang out, you know. So we thank you to everyone. Thank you to all of our sponsors for making this successful. Stockman Law Firm, the Solo Santa, the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, Golden Gate Funeral and Cremation Services, Gates Barbecue, Positivity Water, Soiree Steak and Oyster House, The Right Tally Tax Preparation, Dillard Zona Rosa, KC We Spin 360, Derek Thomas Neil Smith Third and Long Foundation, Phenomenal Kids Child Care Learning Center, XC Freight, Studio Plush, Sierra Francesca, Hairstylist, and New York Life. Thank you to everybody. Remember, catch all of our content. We're remaining for the rest of the day. Also, tomorrow at the Super Bowl. Until next week, we are out of here.
Peace.
Go ahead, say it then. Who the GOAT? Who the GOAT? Who the GOAT? Who the GOAT? Big as the what? Hey. Big as the Super Bowl.
Broadcasting from Radio Row inside the Mandalay Bay Convention Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. You are tuned into Sideline Sports Talk Networks, the W Show on 100.1 FM, Kansas City. Brought to you by Stockman Law Firm, the Solar Center, the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, Golden Gate Funeral and Cremation Services, Gates Barbecue, Positivity Water, Soiree Steak and Oyster House, The Right Tally Tax Preparation, Dillard's Zona Rosa, KC We Spin 360, Derek Thomas Neil Smith Third and Long Foundation, Phenomenal Kids Child Care Learning Center, XC Freight, Studio Plush, Sierra Fonseca, Hairstylist in New York Life.
Expressed in the W Radio Show by the host, co-host, guests, and call-in listeners are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not represent the opinions of the W Show, 100.1 FM, One Kansas City Radio,